let the words of my mouth, grounded in the meditation of my heart, find favor in the heart of the universe and in the hearts of those together. I was away the week of July 16th, engaged in two things. One was the annual gathering of the Children's Defense Fund's Samuel Proctor Institute at Alex Haley Farm in Clinton, Tennessee. The other was to visit my youngest brother, James, and his wife, Pat, my youngest sister, my other sister, Eileen, my niece, Teresa, nephew, Vernon, and great-nephew, Martha. The Children's Defense Fund is the nation's most effective and largest agency for advocating for children in our country, for the needs of children. It publishes reports on the status of children and also does not shy away from going to Washington and elsewhere to do whatever is necessary to guarantee certain rights and privileges for our children. The founder, Marian Wright Edelman, is just an extraordinary person. She calls herself a servant leader. She's not out there, she's not patriarchal, she's not out there in terms of wanting praise for herself. She's just there helping us to do what we need to do on behalf of our children. She resigned a couple of years ago, retired, I should say, and there's a new executive. This was a special gathering for me because the reason I became involved with this Children's Defense Fund Samuel Proctor Institute was because of Gus Newport. Gus had raved. He had gone to the conference a few times and raved about what happened there. And one day he brought books to my office. I got all these books from this fellow. And I'm going, Walter Brueggemann? Walter Brueggemann was there? And my favorite Old Testament scholar was there? And so the next year I decided I needed to go. So this was my first conference that we got Gus. And it's interesting because that Saturday before his passing the next week, we had talked about the conference. He had called and we talked about several things, the meeting of the National Committee of Council of Elders that just met, which I facilitated. He was called to compliment me. And then we talked about the conference. He had been asked to repeat the workshop he did last year with Dr. Teresa Smallwood. And earlier in the year, the dean sent out an email saying, I'd like suggestions for workshops this year. I went back and said, repeat last year's workshop with Dr. Teresa Smallwood and Gus Newport. It was off the charts, and it was. So they decided to do that again this year. I had been asked to be on a panel, a small panel, dealing with Dr. Prathia Hall, who was an outstanding womanist theologian, very much involved in civil rights. She coordinated many of the activities of SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, and they were trying to lift her up because not only as a woman but as a women theologian. In fact, at the end of the conference, it was announced that the conference has been changed from Samuel Whit Proctor Institute to the Dr. Samuel Whit Proctor, Dr. Teresa Hall Institute. So that's the distinguished which they held her. Gus and I had talked because the person, Gus would normally fly into Nashville, and he would get a ride from there because there were people from Nashville going to the conference and get a ride with them. So we talked about, because the two people we would normally ride with were not going to the conference this year. So I said, maybe you fly into Knoxville, and I said, maybe I can get a car, and we can go that way, we can transport each other that way. I was saying this because you might know that Gus was amputated, had his leg amputated a few years ago, and I thought this would be of help to him. Since Gus left us not long ago, and there is no update in terms of tribute to him, public tribute, I'll let you know when there is. I was asked to step in and conduct a workshop, facilitate a workshop with Teresa Smallwood, which sort of was an extraordinary challenge for me, because Gus was so good, so very good, just amazing passion with Dr. Smallwood. They connected. They did not know each other, they connected instantly. So that was my assignment, not only to be on the panel dealing with Dr. Proctor Hall, but also to co-facilitate with Dr. Teresa Smallwood. It was not until I returned and I bought this book that I saw the quote from Derek Lim, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, Lim. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. The literal translation is, the journey begins beneath your feet. And a great undertaking always starts as something small. It continues, this understanding should be an unlocking of a door or turning over the engine. After this, it will be up to you to keep yourself moving forward. As of right now, you have officially embarked on your journey. I sort of wish I had that understanding before the workshop, because the name of the workshop was Praying with Our Feet. Why people of faith must be organizers. The connection. Here's a description of a workshop written by Dr. Smallwood, paying homage to the last great Gus Newport and his legacy in the acumen in community leadership and organizing. This workshop will celebrate the historical antecedents as well as the current events that create the perpetual need for community of faith to engage social and racial justice, to engage social and racial, not engage in, but to engage social and racial justice. Social change theory does not happen in a vacuum within the ivory tower, but rather it comes into fruition through the efforts of organized communities on the plethora of issues and concerns for marginalized people in America. We look at exemplars that live their theology in ways that pave paths of consciousness, parted troubled waters of despair, rescued the brokenhearted, sheltered the homeless, clothed the naked, and fed the hungry as an enactment of faith. I cannot praise enough Dr. Smallwood's brilliance, her knowledge of methods of social change, passion, power as a facilitator and leader. I would have said to her, I would love to sit in one of your classes. Often she is, as a scholar, activist, and faith leader. So we talked about Mahatma Gandhi, who's a great exemplar of people walking with dedication to social justice. With many campaigns in South Africa, his campaigns in India, overthrow in this nonviolent way the British control and power and government over the people of India. Social movements in the nation, our nation, were people. I want to make this distinction. We often talk about civil rights movement. Give us a movement as a something separate from people. These movements were all people. So when we're talking about the civil rights movement, we are talking about people. We're not talking about some objectified reality. We're talking about people. And their journeys to liberation began with their feet, or beneath their feet, marching, petitioning, running to a safer place, moving from sharecropping in the South, sometimes carrying only hope for a brighter day ahead. My parents, grandparents were among those who left the South, deep South, Tetwater, Mississippi, for the promised land of Memphis, Tennessee. Remember the group Act Up? People acted up, going into households of change and power, demanding change in how the LGBTQ folks were treated. And we talked about the great rabbi, Abraham Joshua Heschel, when asked if he prayed while marching with civil rights advocates in Selma, Alabama. He was known for his prayers and the importance of prayer in one's life. He responded that he prayed with his feet. He said, prayer is meaningless, he said, unless, and this is it is subversive. I want to put it up there tomorrow. Unless it is subversive, unless it seeks to overthrow and to ruin the pyramids. Think of the pyramids. Pyramids of callousness, hatred, opportunism, falsehood. Prayer is to be subversive. And one of the ways it's subversive is to subvert the reality in ourselves that we have compromised and don't feel the power, don't realize the power that we have. It's to subvert that commonplace understanding with us that doesn't understand our royalty, our magnificence. When I asked already this morning how she was doing, she said, I'm amazing. And that's true. She really is. That's the kind of understanding we need to have with us. More words from Heschel. That God has placed us here in the midst of an unfinished creation and has given us the task to bring it to fulfillment. That is why we're created, the intention of our birth. That is the purpose of our lives. That is the content of our prayer. Our actions hasten or delay the healing of the world. Dr. Martin Luther King concurred with this by saying progress never rose in on hills of inevitability, but comes from the tireless work of women and men as co-workers with God. And that is why people were willing to pray with their feet for 381 days in Montgomery, Alabama, to heal the world, to aid in fulfilling this unfinished creation, to respond to the God of light who seeks us as co-workers, to say to the non-binary persons, here I am, use me. When we open the workshop, the questions, amazing lives, present that were revealed. The questions and statements, courage, disappointments, current and present conditions, as well as successes in their movements, attested to the power of praying with the feet. Clearly, the God of life had guided their feet through many days and many steps along their journeys. I found many tutors among them. A significant portion of the gathering was to raise the profile of Reverend Dr. Proctor Hall. She had helped Charles Schwab to pilot the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC, 22 Campus Southwest Georgia project, and was one of 3 voter registration workers wounded by nightcrawlers. She was known for her concept of freedom faith, faith based in and for freedom. She was a witness devoted to exploring what God was doing to liberate the entire Black community. The panel in which I participated looked at how her freedom faith was being manifested in contemporary society. My response was, sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. It is said that Martin Luther King heard one of her speeches, and in her speech she talked about, I have a dream. I have a dream. And Martin Luther King was so impressed with it, he told her, I'm going to use that. And so we had this I have a dream speech coming after he had heard Proctor Hall give that speech. Martin Luther King also said that Reverend Hall was the one platform speaker that he preferred not to follow. I did hear her preach. She was something. Here is an excerpt from one of her speeches. Negroes must also bear the blame for the desecration of humanity that is segregation. For we have been silent much too long. We have been preoccupied with telling our city power structure not what it needs to know, but what it wants to hear. We are here today because we can no longer bear the shame of our guilt, because delay means compromising our dignity. We are here today to serve notice on the city of Atlanta and the state of Georgia. We are tired of segregation, and we want equality now. Furthermore, on a personal note, she ended up being on my doctoral dissertation defense committee at United Seminary in Dayton. She was not supposed to, but things happened and she ended up being on my committee. As usual, the conference concluded with the voices, dance, enthusiasm, and inspiration of children. Last year's song was Young as 3. They had participated during the week in the Freedom School and brought much of what they had learned onto the stage. Marvelous they were. With newer feet and wings, newer vitality and joy, their charisma lit up our lives as well as the stage. Yes, doors were unlocked and engines turned over. The journey was re-engaged under the feet of the young man. The long journey beginning again with just one step, and then another, and another, and another. So off from Memphis, I began to spend time with the family. Mom's ago turned 30, my great nephew, on this 14th of July. And I said I wanted to do something special for him on his birthday. So we went to the National Civil Rights Museum at the Lorraine Hotel in Memphis. If you're in Memphis, take some time to go there. It's really quite powerful, very deeply meaningful. And so we went. We sometimes reflected. I added to the exhibits from my own experiences, and he was very moved by that. And actually, some of the other people who overheard us at times would say I was listening to what you're saying, and it was very important for me. We talked about the elders and the young people engaging themselves and moving forward. It doesn't have to be something great, but begin. Take a step. Deal with something that's a concern to you. So we really had a wonderful time. Later on, Martha said that It was one of the most important days of his life. He had learned so much and had become a new person. Now at the airport, now when I will tell you about my travel experiences, my problems with the airports, change, flights, delayed, like I will not go into that. I'm trying to be positive. So the events were really positive. The planes, the flights, no. No. And it's made me so jittery. I'm not sure I would ever want to fly that way again. I probably will. I was so depressed by the flights. So I got to the airport, we were ready, and I was hoping this time there'd be no problems to leave the Atlanta airport to return to San Francisco. And I guess I really was tired. I tried to read a book that we were given at the registration at the conference called Thus Far Away. I kept trying, and I was trying, and finally I said, hey, let's just put it away. So I did, and the flight attendant, because we had been on the plane, said, I saw you sleeping, and I almost took a photo of you. I'm so glad you didn't take a photo of me while I'm asleep. Well, I got on the plane, the bag would fit under, like it always has, this Delta flight, there's no privacy. So I put it in the bin and said, well, I guess this isn't necessary. I shouldn't try to do any work. You know, I just take care of myself. Turned on the movie and finally found first some releases of MSNBC and watched it for a while. And then I started fooling around and I saw some other things and I saw the film mainly being advertised. Well, I had planned to see it when it was in the theaters here. And I did it. So I watched it. As they moved into the film, your heart breaks. When you see what people did to a 14-year-old boy. Unbelievable cruelty. You wonder, how did people even think in those terms? It was just difficult to bear. But then I thought about the mother, mainly Till Mobley, marching with her feet, saying, I am going to money. It's to see what happened to my child. And I saw the feet of some of the people in money who said, yes, I was looking at the child, knowing that their lives were at stake. I saw the NAACP risking their lives to say we have got to change something, marching with their feet. And they, mainly, the people in Money, Mississippi, the NAACP and others, catalyzed a movement, the civil rights movement. Well, I returned home, and I finally began to read the book, Thus Far Away, toward a theology of child advocacy. The author shared an insight from her son, who works as a volunteer with the emergency medical technician people folks. And he explained to her that one of the things that EMTs learn is how to assess head trauma. With a proper assessment, when someone has been injured, the extent of the injury and their symptoms can be quickly summarized. EMT can then report to the doctor or nurse at the emergency room that the patient is, quote, for example, alert and conscious times 4. What that means to the medical person is that the patient is alert, that is, awake and conscious. Times 4 means, in this order, she said, that the person knows who they are, where they are, what time it is, and what just happened. Conscious, alert and conscious times 4. It said, in an accident, when someone suffers a head trauma, it is not unusual to forget what just happened. That person would be described as alert and conscious times 3. That means they know who they are, where they are, what time it is, but they don't recall what just happened. I feel that we've all been traumatized by different things that happen in this nation, the oppression, the brutality, by the imperialism of our nation and the oppression imposed on all of us. We have responded in various ways, some creative, others not so creative. But the questions, I think, are very important. Do we really know who we are? Are we merely spokes and wheel consumers, things being manipulated? Or is there grandeur to our being? Thank you, Ari, for this morning. Is there grandeur to our being? Are we, as Rabbi Heschel suggests, agents or co-workers with the universe? Placed here in the midst of an unfinished creation and given the task of helping to bring it to fulfillment. Are we, as the psalmist says, a little lower than angels crowned with glory and honor, taking care of God's works and everything under our feet? Is that what we are? Do we know what time it is? Dr. King talked about the fierce urgency of now and declared, now is the time to be the nation we must be, the people we must be. And what just happened to us? Women have lost the right to make decisions about their own bodies. Laws have been passed to make it nearly impossible to vote in some states. There is war against our transgender community. And so many of us are silent. May we remember, through me, you did not experience with the joy of the children. The commitment of the workshop attendees, the legacies of those enshrined in the National Civil Rights Museum, the legacies of Reverend Dr. Crayfield Hall and Mamie Till Mowbray. All began praying beneath and with their feet. What became large began small. Let us take one more step on the journey of 1,000